Hey, cousins. Hope you're enjoying the content, having a good time with your girl. Let's have a conversation. For whatever reason, everybody's been talking about Bret Hart and his behavior. And the question that people are asking is he bitter or is he right to be feeling the way he want to feel? I got I gotta get into this because I'm a little annoyed. I don't understand why people think you could do them any kind of way and they supposed to just be all jovial and cordial with your ass later. Now I only have to ask Bret Hart, why do you keep coming back to the WWE when they come tell you, when they come and invite you to do stuff and get involved in all kind of festivities, and you don't want to do it? Why you keep doing it? Is the money that good? Because you don't want to fuck with WWE. You and WWE got a terrible, very volatile and hostile relationship, Brent, but you keep on coming on back and getting your feelings hurt. That is the only question I would ask Bret Hart. What is it that is making you want to come back and deal with this company? Because I'd have been through with them. I would have been through with them after the screw job, after everything that they did and how they made me feel. And I never could be in the position I wanted to be, and just I wasn't taken care of, and I felt, slighted. And even in the old age, they not respecting me like I deserve. I wouldn't fuck with them. That's just me. So let's get into this article. I read it from Newsweek. It's from August 12th. And it's titled, Bret the Hitman Hart is upset with WWE over SummerSlam incident. And it goes on to say that the Hall of Famer has once again voiced frustration with the WWE in a new fan convention appearance. Hart claimed the company invited him to SummerSlam earlier this month, but then failed to provide him with a seat to the event. The three-time Hall of Famer stated that the incident made him feel that WWE doesn't fully appreciate his contributions to the business. The comments were made during a recent appearance at I guess that's say Vaughn, Comic Con. Hart explained that he was invited by WWE to be in a crowd for the massive two-night event at MetLife Stadium. However, when he arrived, he was told that there was no seats available for him. He said, and I quote, "This year, WWE told me that they wanted me to be in a crowd. Then they told me once I got there that they didn't have any seats for me." He then pointed out reference to another Hall of Famer, his longtime rival Kevin Nash. He said, "But I noticed Kevin Nash got a seat. Maybe I finally realized that I don't think they really appreciate me. There's just no certain appreciation for anything I've did." You know, the old heads, the classics, they getting taken up out of here. Okay, by hook or crook. Not too many wrestlers get the privilege to lay down and take a long nap and just move and transition in a nice, calm fashion. No, they dying of overdoses. They dying on the opera room table. They dying in car accidents. They getting knocked the fuck out. They getting left in the house. They dying in the worst way possible. And you got to give these wrestlers their flowers. Now, listen, I know a lot of y'all think that Bret Hart is just a bit of Betty and he always complaining and whoop de whoop de whoop. But you got to understand, if you watched Bret Hart, he got a documentary that I watched. Um, it was centered around the Montreal Screwjob, but it also told you the beginning of his life and stuff. And he all he knew was wrestling. His dad, Canadian, a hard ass, sound like he was completely horrifying. Had the guys learn to wrestle in the basement of their house, and he was real rough with them and twisting them up and jacking them up real good. And that was called the Heart Dungeon. And it's legendary in Canada because everyone went there to learn how to wrestle. They said, word on the street is, if you could take what the daddy was dishing, then you could get in the ring and be a pro wrestler. So these guys was already into the wrestling long time, early life. Okay. And then, they get in the business, they doing what they got to do. And we could kind of fast forward and enter the WWE. and the Hart Foundation and everything that they tried to put forward to. Listen, Bret Hart by no means was a showstopper, okay? He came in there, you knew what you was going to get. One of the best, I would think everyone could agree with me on that. Technical wrestlers, right? He's gonna give you some good grappling, some holds. He's gonna spin around on the mat. He's gonna give you that, that Kurt Angle kind of feel that we've come to know. No, he wasn't explosive on the mic. He wasn't gonna hold you with a promo. But he was a team player. He did what he was supposed to do for the most part, and he put on some classics, okay? All this man asked was, don't embarrass me in front of my hometown. That's all this man asked. My understanding, he was going to turn over the title. He just said, let me get the 1, 2, 3. I turn over the title and I'm going to go about my business. But they did something totally different. And now Paul Levesque, because I was saying it wrong the other time. Paul Levesque has since linked into it. Yeah, I did. I came up with the whole shebang. That was all my idea. Went into the back, famously walked around, asked everybody, asked Shawn Michaels, you had anything to do with this? They was in the back talking. And Shawn was like, listen, I had nothing to do with this. I just was doing what they told me to do. I ain't want no beef. They saw Paul Levesque in the hallway with a weird smirk on his face. And the wife said, you wrong for this, Paul. You wrong. You knew how much this meant to my husband. You stand up there grinning and skinning, acting like you had nothing to do with this. It's gonna come back on your ass. I already told y'all that she put a hex on him with that thick ass Canadian accent. I already knew he was going down when I had saw it. And then he went to talk to Vince McMahon and blasted this motherfucker so good. We didn't see it, but what we did see was Vince fall out of the locker room, stumbling all over the place, and we saw the aftermath when his eyeball was sitting on his cheek. So that thing really, really ruffled his feathers bad. Really, really bad. Not to mention, he lost a brother to the business. It wasn't handled well, I don't think, right? Not to mention, he lost his neck to the business. And all of these things. Now, the guy has every right to be cranky. And he had strokes. And he's still here. Why not give him his flowers? Why not just let Bret Hart let it all out? Why can't someone like Chris Van Vliet, if I'm putting out, y'all, I don't know if his name is Vliet or Vliet, okay? Either way, sit down with him and let him get it all out. That would be a fantastic interview. I wish I could do the interview. I wish I could do the interview with Bret Hart and say, Bret, let it all out. Let's see how you feel. Tell us how you feel. Even after his reconciliation with the WWE, multiple Hall of Fame inductions, Hart has remained one of the company's most outspoken critics. He recently had been critical of the in-ring style of stars like Gunther and Hulk Hogan. Hart's specific mention of Kevin Nash is rooted in a long history of real-life animosity. Hart was publicly critical of Nash's in-ring ability and his backstage influence as a member of the Clique for decades. Seeing his old rivals seemingly get preferential treatment at a major event was a clear point of frustration. You can't tell me if somebody told you to be somewhere and it's a big event and they're going to have you hooked up and you show up and you not on the list to get in, or you get in and you walk into the front so you can get a good seat and they like, oh no, you can't sit up here, there's nothing for you. And no one even tried to go around and rectify the situation. Anybody would be like, oh word, this how y'all going to do me? Even when he had the Hall of Fame for the match that him and Stone Cold had, he got upstaged by Paul Levesque. Famously, he was like, look at this motherfucker here. Even Stone Cold was like, tapped him on the shoulder like, look, come just give me a hug, man, because you already know how this motherfucker is. It's all about him. He you know what I mean? Don't even worry about it. One of the many unspoken rules of pro wrestling is don't upstage the legends. I thought everybody knew that. They say it all the time. Despite his feelings of being underappreciated, Hart was inducted to the Hall of Fame for a third time this past April as his WrestleMania 13 match with Austin was given a special immortal moment. He got a big old fat thick ring, but he still was upstaged. Listen, in my opinion, Bret Hart has every right to feel how he has to feel. I don't think he's bitter. Yes, you all are tired of hearing about it, but I just feel like history has not been kind to Bret Hart in terms of his pro wrestling career. No, again, he's not flashy and splashy, but his contributions to pro wrestling are etched in history. He has done nothing compared to what Hulk Hogan does, and the way people are like fucking falling all over themselves to do the whole revisionist shit. But everybody's just like, oh my God, here he comes. Yeah, I want to hear what Bret Hart has to say. I want to hear him run down Goldberg. I like it. I like when he runs down Goldberg. I like when he runs down Vince McMahon. One of the few to punch the fuck out of him. You know how many people should have punched the shit out of Vince McMahon? Yeah, I like that. I like it. I like how vocal he is. Because everybody else tiptoe and walk on eggshells and bitch made. Bret Hart ain't bitch made. Back in his day, good looking. Can't take it from him. Now, I don't know if he was cheating with his wife, because that one little situation where him and Shawn Michaels famously was going back and forth, and Shawn Michaels in his, coke fueled bad boy years put it on blast that him and Sonny was mixing it up in the back. And he was married, but everybody was fucking Sonny back then. And she is something to behold. That's a whole nother conversation. But, for the most part, he ain't got no real background to be like telling him to shut up and to get up out of the way. Like, even when he was doing his Hall of Fame and got attacked at the Hall of Fame, every time this man is dealing with WWE, it don't go right. I think Bret Hart has now realized that they may not appreciate him the way they should. I agree, Bret, because if you should have had a seat, they should have had a seat. They know how you are. They should have been prepared to make sure you good. And if you ain't good, you go out your way to make sure the legends are comfortable. That is all you have to do. That is all that man wanted. That's all he wants, is to be recognized for his contributions. That's it. He gave a lot to this thing that we like, pro wrestling, whether it was the WWE, ECW, or WCW. And he feels slighted. And in a lot of ways, he was. And so my part in this whole thing, I don't think he's bitter. I think he is well within his rights to say what he wants to say, how he wants to say it, from his perspective. And I think you all should respect him and let him say what he wants to say. And stop calling people bitter. Stop calling people bitter who have valid reasons to be annoyed with motherfuckers. I never understand that. You call people who've experienced abuse, who've gone through some hardcore shit, who's been dealt fucked up hands in life. And when they bring out and say how they feel, and they vocal, and they kind of grouchy, and you don't know why, but your first thing is, oh, they bitter. They bitter. I moved on in a relationship and he bitter. She bitter because I'm with another woman and she bitter. No, it's not. It's you did some fucked up stuff. And people don't know you like the person that you did the fucked up stuff to. They know you. You all love Vince McMahon, but y'all don't know Vince McMahon like Bret Hart knows Vince McMahon. That's why he was able to punch his fucking eye through the back of his head. So, no, he's not bitter. I don't think there's anything else really to add to this. I wish Bret Hart all the grace and the luck and the blessing to transition eventually. I don't want to speed things up, knock on wood, nicely and comfortably. Not like all the other wrestlers and his contemporaries just getting took up out of here all violent and fucked up. Let Bret Hart do what he got to do. That man earned the right to tell his story the way he wants to tell it and from his perspective. And ain't nobody going to dispute him. If you want to watch the documentary, it's called Bret The Hitman Hart, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be, and it's from the year 2000. Really good, and you get to see how he punched the shit out of Vince McMahon, and you get to see Paul Levesque smug in the corner. You get to learn about his life. I learned a lot. Listen, these documentaries are fantastic to get to know what was going on at that time, and I think he's well within his rights to be very disgruntled to WWE. I'll say this and I'll wrap it up. The way you live your life, karma's real. Karma's a bitch. I've seen karma so many times in real time that I don't want to step on people's toes if I don't have to. Because, baby, that shit going to come back to you tenfold. They might not get you on the front end, but they definitely going to get you on the back end. And I can name a couple of wrestlers where karma caught up to their ass and got them on the back end. So I'm going to leave right there. Y'all tell me what y'all think in the comments.